ठीक है। नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपं लसत्कुण्डलं गोकुले व्रजमानम् यशोदाभियदुःखलादवमानं परं दृष्टम् अत्यन्ततो धृत्य गोप्या रुदन्तं मुहुर्नेत्र युग्मं मृजन्तं करं भुजयुग्मेन शान्तकनेत्रम् मुहुश्वासकं पात्रिरेखाङ्ककण्ठ स्थितग्रैवं दामोदरं भक्तिपदाम् स्वलीलाभिरानन्दकुण्डे स्वघोषं निमज्जन्तम् आख्यापयन्तम् तदेषु तदनेषु भक्तिर्जितत्वम् पुनः प्रेमतस्तं शतावृत्ति वन्दे परं देवमोक्षं न उच्चपदिं वा न चान्यवृणेऽहं वरेषदप्रियः इदं ते वपुर्नाथ गोपालबालं सदा मे मनस्याभिरस्तं किमन्ये इदं ते मुखाम्बोजम् अत्यन्तनीलै कृतं कुन्तलै स्निग्धरक्तस्य गोप्या मोहोचुम्बितं बिम्बरक्तधरं मे मनस्य विरस्तम् आलं लक्ष्यलाभे नमो देवतामोदर अनंत विष्णु प्रसीद प्रभो दुःख जलाब्धिमग्न कृपा दृष्टि विष्ण्यादिरंबतानु गृहानेश माम् अज्ञं ते दक्षिदृश्य स्वकामे प्रयश्च न मोक्षे ग्रहमे स्थितमतरेह नमस्तेस्तु धाम्ने स्फुरदीप्तिधाम्ने हरि उदराय विश्वस्वधाम्ने नमो राधिकाय त्वदीय प्रियाय नमो अनंत लीलाय देवाय तुभ्यम् Ishwaram Sanchidananda Rupam Satchidananda Gure Brahmana Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. श्री दामोदर अष्टकम की जय, श्री सत्यव्रत मुनि की जय, श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरे हरे। All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, Gaur Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 52, entitled Rukmini's Message to Lord Krishna, text number 36. एवं संपृष्ट संप्रश्नो ब्राह्मण परमेष्टिना लीला गृहत देहेन तस्मै सर्वं अवर्णयेत् Evam samprishta samprashno Brahmana parameshtina Leela grihita dehena Tasmai sarvam avarnayet Evam samprishta samprashno Brahmana parameshtina Leela grihita dehena Tasmai sarvam avarnayet Evam, thus, Samprishta asked, Samprashna questions, Brahmana, the Brahmana, Parameshtina, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Leela, as his pastime, Grihita, who assumes, Dehena, his bodies, Tasmai, to him, Sarvam, everything, Avarnayat, he related. Translation and purport by disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, his disciples ki jai. Translation. Thus questioned by the Supreme Personal Godhead, who incarnates to perform his pastimes, the Brahmana told him everything. Purport. The word grihita may be translated as grasped or caught, and thus exactly as in English may also mean to perceive or understand something. Therefore, Lord Krishna's transcendental body is perceived, understood, or in other words, grasped by the devotees when the Lord comes to exhibit his transcendental pastimes. These pastimes are not whimsical, but are a part of the complex program structured and executed by the Lord himself for awakening the conditioned souls to their natural love and devotion for him and bringing them back to Godhead. We'll also read previous 24-36 translations. Lord Krishna knew that Rukmini possessed intelligence, auspicious bodily marking, beauty, proper behavior, and all other good qualities, concluding that she would be an ideal wife for him. Okay, because Rukmini envied the Lord, he forbade his family members to give his sister to Krishna, although they wanted to. Instead, he decided to give Rukmini to Shishupal. Rukmini abused his position as elder brother and acted with impure motives. He would only suffer for his decision. Dark-eyed 𝐉𝐻𝐈𝐍 was aware of this plan and it deeply upset her. Analyzing the situation, she quickly sent a trustworthy Brahmana to Krishna. Upon reaching Dwarka, the Brahmana was brought inside by the gatekeepers and saw the primal personality of Godhead sitting on a golden throne. Seeing the Brahmana, Sri Krishna Lord of the Brahmanas, came down from his throne and seated him. Then the Lord worshipped him just as he is himself worshipped by the demigods. After the Brahmana had eaten and rested, Shri Krishna, the goal of saintly devotees, came forward, and while massaging the Brahmana's feet with his own hands, he patiently questioned him as follows. The Supreme Lord said, O best of the exalted Brahmanas, are your religious practices sanctioned by senior authorities, proceeding without great difficulty? Is your mind always fully satisfied? When a Brahmana is satisfied with whatever comes his way and does not fall away from his religious duties, those very religious principles become his desired cow, fulfilling all his wishes. An unsatisfied Brahmana wanders restlessly from one planet to another, even if he becomes king of heaven. But a satisfied Brahmana, though he may possess nothing, rests peacefully, all his limbs free of distress. I repeatedly bow my head in respect to those Brahmanas who are satisfied with their Lord. Saintly, prideless and peaceful, they are the best well-wishers of all living beings. O Brahmana, is your king attending to your welfare? Indeed, that king in whose country the citizens are happy and are protected is very dear to me. Whence have you come, crossing the impassable sea, and for what purpose? Explain all this to us if it is not a secret, and tell us what we may do for you. Thus questioned by Supreme Person Godhead, who incarnates to perform his pastimes, the Brahmana told him everything. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padagamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamsha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimade Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyanta Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pranayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratushe Nama He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Runda Vaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nilachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balbhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannathaaya Te Namah Pancha Kalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktvrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, everybody, for being present for today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. I seek blessings of all devotees assembled here so that I can speak something for my own purification. Mind always needs something to think about. And if you don't have proper subject matter to think, we may think something useless subject matters and regrade our consciousness and our life. But we are so fortunate that every day we have opportunity to hear about Krishna and think about Krishna's pastimes, meditate on it, and make our life auspicious and uplift our lives. We see in this world, people like to study, people like to understand, people like to explain, people like to relish different subject matters. You see, some people like mathematics, and they can really, when they go deep in the studies, they feel very excited. Such amazing, and then there are complicated problems one solves. It's a great ecstasy, and sometimes many amazing things are there in that particular subject. Some people like physics, and not only numbers, but you study objects and then characteristics of this, qualities of it is even more thrilling. And sometimes many contradictory things are there, astonishing things are there, amazing things are there. One wonders, are amazing, it's great, and it's exciting. How many of you experienced some excitement in studying something, and then some people may study computer programming and all this thing, and sometimes very intoxicating. One can be lost in that, and other people may think, he's a crazy guy, why he's just sitting in front of computer. But one who is into it, he derives kind of great pleasure, and he may forget even eating and sleeping. Similarly, if somebody studies not only dead, just material elements, but biology and all that things, or if one studies living beings, nature, birds, animals, it's very exciting to study different types of butterflies, different types of animals, and different types, their characteristics, and how they behave, how they respond. There are so many nature lovers, they go around just trying to study different things, studies sun, moon, all that, planets, all this is also different kinds of studies. Or to study human beings, different types of human beings, different types of their psychologies, how they deal, how they behave, how they respond. It's very interesting. So all this subject matter, if you anybody, whatever their liking is there, if one ventures deep in it, it can be very thrilling, exciting, enchanting. Different people may like different subjects. Some people may like this subject which I mentioned. Some people may like geography. Sometimes may like history. Sometimes may like different things. But when one comes to Krishna's pastimes, these are the most thrilling, most enchanting, the pinnacle of whatever excitement, thrill we can imagine. We can see that in Krishna's pastimes. And Krishna is performing all these pastimes just for one purpose, so that he can just, especially when he comes to this material world, he is performing this pastime just to awaken the living entity's love for him and take them back home, back to Godhead. And he's also performing pastimes in spiritual realm just to give great pleasure and great joy to living entities. So there are so many subject matters which one can relish, but for every living entity, topmost subject matter is always love, and Krishna is the supreme in that. So his pastimes are actually very thrilling, enchanting, exciting, and more we study, more we hear, more it is wonderful. It cannot satiate. It's not that I have heard enough now, there's no more need to hear. So, like sometimes we like sweet, we may eat, but after some time we may get satiated. Or even if you like, there may be health problem, and there will be, we may be, despite our liking, we have to stop eating. But this sweetness and nectar of pastime, if we can learn to appreciate, that keep on becoming more sweet and more wonderful, and one can go on endlessly experiencing it, and it's never hazardous. One can never say that I have now heard too much. Sometimes when we say I have eaten too much sweet, okay, that is possibility. But we can never say I have heard too much pastimes, or I have chanted too much, because whatever we may do is always less, and Krishna is more ever new and ever sweet and ever beautiful and ever enchanting, and his pastimes are ever thrilling and exciting and beautiful. So what all Lord does, just convince the conditioned soul, is really amazing. Sometimes it's like a man leela of living entity. Living entity turns his face, comes to material world, and what all Lord may do to just appease him and attract him. Or sometimes some living entity becomes so notorious, he develops so many unwanted things in his heart, and Lord is so expert in rectifying, doing that surgery or training or teaching or making that person again fit, proper to enter the pastime. It's so very amazing. And we can see that Krishna is actually so much love and affection for all living entities. And Krishna is so patient with all of them. So when we understand Krishna's nature and Krishna's love, Krishna's what all he does, it's really very thrilling and enchanting. And one of the most wonderful and thrilling, enchanting pastime that happened in Kartik is this Damodar Leela. Damodar Ashtami, which we just sang. Dam means rope, Udar means belly. Rope and belly pastime. Damodar. So this pastime, whole month devotees sing this Damodar Ashtakam, whole month they offer lamb. And it's so very beautiful and enchanting. Especially these pastimes. So many acharyas have commented on these pastimes. And especially if we study scriptures directly or directly try to understand Krishna is very difficult. If we try to study on our own Krishna, one may start developing doubts whether he's God or not, Is he really God or maybe, So, because Krishna's pastimes are really bewildering pastimes. To accept Vishnu with 4 hands, or Narayan with 4 hands as Supreme Lord may be easier, but to understand Krishna and accept Krishna as God is little challenging. But if we hear from acharyas, great acharyas coming down in parampara, then not only we are convinced how Supreme Lord is, Krishna is Supreme Lord, but also how wonderful is Krishna, how amazing is Krishna, how amazing are Krishna's pastimes. So, we see in when Mother Earth, when she had taken the form of a cow, and when she was conversing with Dharma, who was in form of bull, Mother Earth tells how many wonderful qualities are there in Krishna. In verse number 116, 26 to 30, she tells, in Krishna recite this, she is talking about almost 40 qualities. Jai Shri 𝐂𝐻𝐌𝐌𝐔𝐍𝐈𝐓𝐘 ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Mother Earth is telling how Krishna has this 40 qualities, and each one quality is very amazing. First quality she says truthfulness, second cleanness, third is intolerance of another's unhappiness, Krishna cannot tolerate somebody else being unhappy. He wants to see everybody happy. Then the power to control anger, he can never become angry. He can control anger. Self-satisfaction, Krishna is always self-satisfied, up to calm. Straightforwardness, steadiness of mind, control of the sense organs. He is completely in control of his mind and senses. Responsibility, equality, tolerance, equanimity, faithfulness, knowledge, absence of sense enjoyment. He has no lust. Leadership, chivalry, influence, the power to make everything possible. For Krishna, nothing is impossible. The discharge of proper duty, complete independence. Krishna is Swarat. He doesn't depend on anybody. Dexterity, fullness of all beauty, serenity, kind-heartedness, ingenuity, gentility, magnanimity, determination, perfection in all knowledge, proper execution. He is not only expert in knowledge, but he executes also everything perfectly. Sometimes people have great knowledge, but in concept is only theory. In practicality, one cannot do. But Krishna is expert. He is perfect in all knowledge and perfect in all execution also. Possession of all objects of enjoyment. He is not lacking anything. Joyfulness, immovability, fidelity, fame, worship, pridelessness, and being supreme, and for eternity. And there are many other qualities. So these are many wonderful qualities Mother Earth is saying Supreme Lord Krishna has. And there are other 18 qualities are there which Supreme Lord never has. There are unlimited qualities Lord has, and 40 she is 11. And there are some qualities which Lord never has in his personality. So firstly, illusion. Lord is never in illusion. Laziness. Lord is never lazy. Error. Lord never commits mistake. Can you imagine? Error is human, but no error in God. Cruelty. No cruelty. No lust. God has no lust. No fickleness. Lord's mind is never fickle. Very steady. No arrogance. No envy. Lord is never envious of anybody. No violence. No sorrow. No fatigue. Lord never gets tired. No dishonesty. Lord is never dishonest. No anger. Lord never becomes angry. No longing, hankering for anything. He is full in himself, so he has no hankering. No fear. No confusion. Lord never gets confused. Arey kya karna chahiye, you know? Ye karo ya wo karo, no? No partiality is equal to him. And no dependency on anybody else. He is not dependent on anybody. So basically this illusion, laziness, error, cruelty, lust, fickleness, arrogance, envy, violence, sorrow, fatigue, dishonesty, anger, longing, fear, confusion, partiality, and dependence on others. These faults are not there in Krishna. These faults are not there in Supreme Personal Godhead. So if somebody tries to analyze, God doesn't have these faults. But when you try to see Krishna's pastimes, one may see all these faults. But like generally, if you want to study any subject, you try to see the characteristics. What are character, and then we match with the characteristics to check whether is this same. If you want to know what is gold, we may have characteristic gold. Try to match the characteristics. No? So God's characteristics are this. He has these qualities. He doesn't have these qualities. Now one tries to, if ordinary person tries to match whether Krishna has all these qualities, or is Krishna free from all these faults? One may get extremely bewildered. So we see, and especially forget of so many other pastimes. Even this pastime, Krishna's one pastime, one after another pastime are supremely bewildering, But even we just consider this one pastime, we can see there are so many contradictions here. Like here it is said in this pastime of Damodar Leela, we see Krishna is Atmaram, but still he becomes hungry. Now if somebody is satisfied, why he has to be hungry? So we see how Krishna is getting up in the morning of Diwali, and he gets up, he's looking around, and then he sees mother Yashoda. He goes there, she's churning buttermilk, and he says, "Stop that, please feed me, I am hungry." And Krishna demands, "Please feed me milk." So mother Yashoda has to stop churning and put him on the lap, and she starts feeding milk. Why? Because he's hungry. I wonder, how can Supreme Lord be hungry if he's self-satisfied, he's Atmaram? And then later on we see Mother Yashoda, when she sees milk is pouring and falling on the fire, immediately she keeps Krishna aside. She runs to stop the milk, to save the milk from pouring out on the fire. And Krishna becomes so dissatisfied. Krishna becomes so angry. Now Krishna is not supposed to be dissatisfied. He's Atmakam. He's not supposed to. And Krishna is beyond three modes of material. He is not supposed to be angry. He has no anger. God means no anger. But here he becomes so angry. He becomes so angry that out of anger he just breaks the pot. And then he creates so much of disturbance at home. So we say Krishna is Lakshmipati, and he is stealing butter. Now one who is the Lakshmipati, can he found stealing something, Imagine the richest person in the world, you find him stealing something, small things, you will not find. But here is Lakshmipati, but he is stealing the butter. And he is a supreme controller, where fear personified is fearful of him, but he becomes fearful of Mother Yashoda. When Mother Yashoda comes with stick, he becomes so fearful, he runs. Now Krishna is running out of fear. This is very, very bewildering. And Krishna is not supposed to be caught. He is unattainable by all yogis. Nobody can catch Krishna. But we see Mother Yashoda is catching him. And he is supposed to be full of bliss, full of happiness. But when we see Krishna is caught, he is bound by Mother Yashoda, he starts crying. And he is actually supreme, unlimited. Now, if somebody is unlimited, how he can be bound? So, more we study the pastime. If ordinary person with ordinary logic, he studies, he may think, aise ko kaise Bhagwan mane, It's too difficult for us to believe that Krishna is God. Don't tell stories. So Krishna has called it as so amazing that nobody in Vrindavan believes that he is God. Though Krishna performs so many amazing things, they don't believe that Krishna is God. And this is actually supreme sweetness of Krishna. So Krishna is supreme form of Lord, in whom all contradictions are resolved. And Acharya has explained that Krishna has many qualities, but one of the topmost qualities of Krishna is his Bhakta Vatsalya or Bhakta Anugraha or Kripa, that Lord's supreme potency of mercy or being favorably disposed to his devotees. So this quality is the supreme quality, and all other qualities are secondary to that. So for showing love, affection, kindness, mercy, it may so appear that Krishna, other qualities are subordinated by it. So because of this Bhakta Vatsalya quality, or Bhakta Anugrah quality, or this Kripa quality, actually Krishna may act apparently contradictory, and that doesn't become Dushan of Lord, but that becomes Bhushan of Lord. That becomes most wonderful thing, most enchanting thing, and that really captivates devotees. So Lord is Lord, we see in Bhagavatam say, "Ye yatha mam prapade tam tataiva bhajami." He reciprocates according to the mood of devotees, according to the surrender of devotees. So when devotees, without any material motives, without any material, they just surrender Krishna, want to serve Krishna, please Krishna, then Krishna also reciprocates accordingly. Like Mother Yashoda, out of love for Krishna, she is wanting to serve Krishna, please Krishna, and she never considered Krishna as God. So Krishna also never considered himself God, and he also behaves as if he is ordinary child, just to give that supreme bliss, supreme pleasure to Mother Yashoda. In Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, "Mora putra, mora sakha, mora pranapati, yahi bhave, yahi more, kare shuddha bhakti, apana ke bada mani, amare samahina, sai bhave, hai ami, tahara adhina." If one cherishes pure loving devotion to me, thinking of me as his son, his friend, or his beloved, regarding himself as great and considering me his equal or inferior, I become subordinate to him. So Krishna becomes subordinate to love of his devotees. And that is not his dushan, but that is his great glory. Though Supreme Lord is supreme controller, supreme master, supreme, but still he subordinate himself to the love of his devotees. In Bhagavatam it is said, "Aham bhakta paradhino hi aswatantra I dvija sadhu bhir grasto hrudayo bhaktir bhakta jana priya." We see in that pastime of Amrish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni, when for no fault of Amrish Maharaj, Durvasa got so angry that he wanted to kill him, he created a demon. And we see Durvasa being surrendered, Amrish Maharaj being surrendered, he just folded his hands. Krishna couldn't tolerate, and Krishna just killed that demon. And that Sudarshan Chakra started chasing Durvasa. And Durvasa went everywhere to find shelter, but he couldn't find any shelter. He went to Brahma. Brahma said, "Please forgive me, I can't give you protection." He went to Shiva. Shiva said, "No." He went to Vishnu, and Vishnu said, "Please forgive me. I am completely controlled by my devotees. I have no independence." Just see, Lord is supremely independent, Swarat, but he says, I have no independence. He is conquered by love of his devotees. So Amrish Maharaj's love conquered him so much. So he became subordinate to love of Amrish Maharaj. And here we see in this pastime of Damodar Leela, Krishna became subordinate to love of Mother Yashoda. So we see that when we understand these pastimes from Vaishnavas, from Acharyas, then we can better appreciate. If we try to study this pastime on our own, we may get bewildered. We may have so many doubts, so many questions. So therefore, understanding scriptures, one should understand from a bona fide guru. So therefore, one is not advised to just study different scriptures on his own. Better to study scriptures under direction of devotees. Sometimes people are very interested learning different scriptures, but sometimes after studying all, they become atheistic. They lose faith. Sometimes they stop chanting also. No? Sometimes even devotees, they may try to learn out of greed of studying and learning, Sometimes, okay, one should have greed for Krishna, but sometimes if it is misdirected and if it is not guided, that can lead to going away from Krishna. So we see Rupa Goswami had written so many books, but later on Jiva Goswami, so many books he eliminated because he thought that other people won't be able to understand. Many people will misunderstand many esoteric pastimes of Lord. So there is so many things to know and learn, but one should have also adhikar. Otherwise, we try to learn and read, and so many things beyond our adhikar, one can get bewildered also. And if we want to learn and appreciate and relish, it's best that we learn and relish under the guidance of devotees, under the guidance of Acharyas. Therefore, we see Srila Prabhupada has worked very, very hard to give these commentaries and his purports by which we can understand Krishna and appreciate Krishna more and more. So we see in these pastimes there are many lessons also we can learn. A couple of amazing things are here. We see how when Mother Yashoda was trying to bind Krishna, that rope was always becoming 2 fingers too short. So Acharya explains what does 2 finger represent. First finger represents our efforts, and second finger represents Krishna's mercy. If you want to achieve success in life, these 2 things are required: our efforts and Krishna's mercy. If you don't put efforts and think that I will be successful, that is not going to happen. You may put all efforts, but if Krishna's mercy is not there, you won't be successful. So there are 2 classes of people. Daivabad, they think, okay, everything depends on God only. तो कुछ करने का जरूरत नहीं, जब भगवान का कृपा होगा सब होगा, तो जब भगवान बुलाएंगे हम मंदिर में भी आएंगे, सेवा भी करेंगे. जब भगवान, तो they don't put any efforts. That is Daivavad. And some people, they are Karmavad. They think, oh, मेहनत करो, मेहनत से ही सब कुछ होगा. But both are not appropriate philosophies. Appropriate understanding is that one should put one's best efforts and one should depend on mercy of Krishna. And this is the best combination to achieve success. Another thing we see is that in this pastime, Krishna is bound. But then later on Krishna, we see he started crawling along with that mortar, and that mortar got stuck in between 2 huge trees. The trees were so huge, they were Yamalarjun trees. And then Krishna just pushed. Generally imagine 2 huge trees are there and somebody is bound by a little rope to this. You try to push, what will happen? First of all, the child may not be able to push. If it does too much push, maybe rope will break or maybe that wooden mortar may get broke. Trees won't fall. But we see that ropes did not break and mortar did not break, but that whole huge trees fell. That is inconceivable mercy of Krishna. And when 2 trees fell, 2 effulgent personalities came and they started offering beautiful prayers to Krishna. So these 2 personalities were 2 sons of Kuvera, Nalkuver and Managriva. We see how once when they were in Mandakini river enjoying with their girlfriends. So when Narada Muni came, all the girlfriends ran and they covered their bodies out of shame. But this Nalkuver and Manigriva, because they are so intoxicated with wine, but more than that, intoxicated with their wealth, they could not respect a sadhu, Narada Muni. So Narada Muni cursed them that you become trees. But they were, later on when they came to senses, they begged forgiveness. So Narada Muni said, don't worry, you will become trees in courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, and Krishna will deliver you. So Narada Muni cursed them, but actually that was the greatest blessing. So we see how great souls, whatever they may do, they only do good for others. They can never do any harm. Great devotees of Krishna. Krishna can never do any harm to anybody. He has no envy, he has no violence, he has no cruelty, he has no. His love personified, his kindness personified, his mercy personified. So he can only do good to others, whatever he may do. He may kill, but still liberate a person. Similarly, his devotees also, whatever they do is only for the good of living entities. So we see apparent misfortune is transformed into fortune. Apparently, if they were cursed, it was misfortune, but because they were cursed by devotees, that was also good fortune. So in our life also, whatever happens, especially in our sessional devotees, we should know it's always good. And especially if we take shelter of Krishna, it becomes supremely fortunate. This material world is a dangerous place. What will happen when we never know? One may have good health, all of a sudden he may get cancer. Nowadays cancer is spreading fast. Every third person is getting cancer because of artificial living. Sometimes one may be very healthy, nice, everything, and he may go and there can be accident. Now there's so many road accident, train accident, flight accident, flight hijacking, so many things are happening. So it's very risky, you know. And so many newer diseases are coming. In this material world is a very dangerous place. No sane man can live here. You may have no fault, and still there can be so many things. But if one takes shelter of Krishna, then apparent misfortune also can become great fortune. And those who are fortunate, if they take shelter of Krishna, turn towards Krishna, they can become more fortunate. Amrish Maharaj was already fortunate, and a problem came in his life. He was all of a sudden, just turned to Krishna, and he became more fortunate, more glorified. So, and those who are fortunate, if they don't turn to Krishna, all misfortune come in their life. So we see that Krishna is husband of goddess of fortune. We are studying Rukmini Devi's pastime. Other day, Shindak was explaining Mangalam, Rukmini Mangalam, everything auspicious. So real Mangalam comes by remembering Krishna, hearing about Krishna, taking shelter of Krishna. And especially this month is the Kartik month, most fortunate month. This month of Srimati Radharani, mercy of Radharani is profusely available. So this month we can focus on Krishna, focus on enhancing our Krishna consciousness, focus on hearing Krishna Katha, doing Krishna Naam, doing some Krishna Seva. And we can also do Sankalpa, because when we do Sankalpa, once energies become focused, we become more determined, and we can be saved from distractions. Otherwise, there is no determination, no Sankalpa, no determination. Then anyway, we get so much distracted. So this is very nice month of Kartik. So let us experiment what happens if we can compromise on all other things for sake of chanting, reading, hearing, praying, serving Krishna. What do you think? What will happen if we compromise other things for sake of doing little more quality reading, hearing, chanting, praying, serving Krishna? What will happen? Some misfortune will come in life. Greatest good fortune will come. So Krishna is awaiting to give supreme mercy. Krishna is awaiting to be bound by love of his devotees. We see Mother Yashoda has successfully bound Krishna, and Krishna wants to be bound by our love also, but we have to cultivate that love. So in this month, let us pray that we can also cultivate our love for Krishna, and one day bound Krishna with our love. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, राम राम हरे हरे। श्री दामोदर लीला की जय, सत्यव्रत मुनि की जय, श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, कार्तिक मास की जय, शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गो प्रेमानंदे हरि बोल। Thank you very much.